Officially, the economy seems okay. Unemployment is around 4%, jobs are being added, and the economy is still growing. So why does everything feel so hard? Because a recession might already be here, the official numbers just haven't caught up yet. Here's the thing, recessions are always announced after the fact. The group that declares recessions, called the NBER, waits 6 to 18 months before making it official. For example, the 2008 financial crisis actually started in December 2007, but wasn't declared until a full year later. The 2001 recession started in March, but wasn't announced until November. This isn't a mistake, it's just how the process works. Which means you could be living through a recession right now and not know it officially for months. The unemployment rate is 4.4%, which sounds okay. But that number only counts people who are actively looking for work. Since the pandemic, 1.6 million Americans have simply stopped looking. Those people aren't counted as unemployed, they've basically disappeared from the data. On top of that, the jobs being created aren't as good as the ones being lost. Full-time jobs are quietly being replaced by part-time work. And here's the tricky part. If someone loses one full-time job and takes two part-time jobs to survive, the government counts that as 2 jobs added. So the numbers look good, but people's lives aren't getting better. Right now, 4.4 million Americans are working part-time simply because they can't find full-time work. Part-time jobs usually mean lower pay, no benefits, and less security. Prices have gone up by more than 25% since 2020. Many Americans can't keep up, so they're turning to credit cards just to pay for basic necessities. Total credit card debt has hit a record $1.28 trillion, and the average interest rate on those cards is around 22%. Consumer spending looks strong in the headlines, but people aren't spending more because they're earning more, they're spending more because they're borrowing more. Savings tell the same story. Americans used to save about 8% of their income, now that number has dropped to just 4.5%. This is a classic warning sign before a recession, people stretching themselves thin with debt just to maintain their normal lifestyle. A key economic tool called the Leading Economic Index, which is designed to predict recessions, has dropped for 6 months in a row. That's the exact same pattern seen before the 2001 and 2008 recessions. Business bankruptcies have also risen over 7%, reaching the highest level in over a decade. Companies that survived on cheap loans during the pandemic are now struggling as conditions tighten. No single warning sign proves a recession is coming. But when all of them appear at the same time, falling job quality, rising debt, shrinking savings, dropping business confidence, that's a pattern worth paying attention to. It's like your car's check engine light, oil pressure warning, and brake light all turning on at once. Any one of them alone might be nothing. But all of them together means something deeper is probably going on. So why do the official numbers still look okay? Because the way we measure the economy is outdated and full of blind spots. For example, if you work just 1 hour a week delivering food, the government counts you as fully employed, the same as a full-time salaried worker. And GDP counts money spent on credit cards the same as money earned from wages, even though one creates debt and the other doesn't. There's also a concept called Goodhart's Law. The idea is simple. Once a measurement becomes a goal, it stops being a useful measurement. When politicians and institutions focus on making a number look good, they stop focusing on making the actual situation good. That's why official numbers and real life can feel so different. We're no longer measuring the economy, we're just managing the numbers we use to measure it. When the news celebrates job growth, ask whether these are good jobs. When they talk about wage increases, check if those wages are actually keeping up with inflation. When consumer spending looks strong, check whether people are spending their savings or their credit cards. There's always more to the story than what you're being told. The official recession announcement will eventually come. But by then, it won't be a surprise. It'll just be confirmation of what people have already been living through. The real economy always leaves clues. The question is, will you be prepared when the numbers finally match reality? And there are more signals hiding in plain sight that most people never hear about. Let's talk about the housing market. Home prices have risen so much that the average American now needs to spend over 40% of their monthly income just to afford a basic mortgage payment. That's nearly double what financial experts recommend. First-time homebuyers have dropped to their lowest share of the market in over 40 years. Young people aren't choosing to rent, they're being forced to. And when an entire generation gets locked out of homeownership, they also get locked out of building long-term wealth. And it's not just young people feeling the squeeze. Surveys show that nearly 60% of Americans, including people earning over $100,000 a year, say they are living paycheck to paycheck. That number should stop you in your tracks. Because if people earning six figures can't build a financial cushion, something is deeply broken in the system. Now let's talk about delinquencies, people falling behind on their bills. Credit card delinquencies have risen to their highest level since 2012. Auto loan delinquencies are also climbing, with over 7 million Americans currently behind on their car payments. That's a record high. When people start missing payments, it doesn't just hurt them personally. Banks tighten their lending, businesses can't grow, and that slowdown creates a ripple effect across the entire economy. There's also the yield curve, one of the most reliable recession predictors in modern history. When short-term interest rates rise above long-term rates, it signals that investors are deeply worried about the near future. The yield curve inverted back in 2022 and stayed inverted for an unusually long time. And historically, every single time this has happened, a recession has followed. Every single time, without exception. So step back and look at the full picture. A housing market locking out an entire generation, a middle class quietly shrinking, record debt delinquencies, and bond markets sending clear recession warnings. The data will eventually catch up. But by then, millions of people will have already felt the damage, all while being told the economy was doing just fine. So stop waiting for official permission to acknowledge what you're already feeling. The real economy isn't in a government report, it's in your daily life. And once you start reading the signs clearly, you stop being blindsided and you start being prepared.